Hey everyone! So I'm back with part 2 of that TN junk journal video that I started not quite a while ago, but a couple of days ago. I apologize that it's taken me so long to get part 2 up, but I've been sick for a week and literally my voice just came back. So I'm making a voiceover for this one. I won't be live. But this video is really simple. I am just making the pages for my journal. I did the cover in the last video, and I think doing the fabric cover was the hardest part of making this type of junk journal TN insert. So here I am just taking those papers, those pattern papers that I printed off, using some digital papers from American Crafts, and I am just cutting them down to size. Again, I am making a B6 Slim TN, and so that white paper there is acting as my template, and I am using it to trim down these papers. These papers are digital papers, and all of them are from Maggie Holmes collections. I think the 3 collections that I used were Confetti, Style Board, and Bloom. And you can find them at AC Digitals, and I just kind of printed them off on this cardstock paper that I have, and I printed front and back different patterns on each side so that when I fold them I have just different pattern papers. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. It's just cutting down all my papers. Here I'm cutting down some sheet music that I have that I ripped up from a book. And this bigger piece of sheet music, I am going to make a pocket. So it's big enough to do that. So I'm using my template and I'm folding over the bottom. And then I'm going to fold it in half and trim off the excess so that it is a B6 Slim size. And I kind of screw up trimming off the excess. You can see I kind of ripped my paper a little bit, but it's fine. What I'm going to do is I went to my sewing machine and I stitched up the edges so that the folded part becomes a pocket. So when I fold it in half and kind of stick all my papers in, I'll have 2 pockets within my insert. So I just folded all of my pages, and now I'm going through some old book papers and I'm going to trim those down to size as well. And I'm using my template to just mark off where I need to trim. This one I kind of trimmed it kind of wonky, so it's fine, but the next one I trim a little bit better. So there are my old book pages. Here I end up pulling out some of this drawing paper. This is Strathmore drawing paper, and I believe it's from the 400 series, so the paper pads with the brown cover. I absolutely love using this paper in my journals because I love the texture, but I also love it because it's the only drawing paper that I can find that's cream. So here I'm assembling my insert, and I'm just kind of playing around with what pages sort of look good next to each other, like what patterns and stuff. Generally all the pages that I pick will match each other. That's why I painstakingly pick out the colors and the patterns and stuff so that whichever arrangement I do, they'll all match. So here I'm just kind of counting off my papers because I notice that I will have some overhang. So my inserts, they kind of overhang off of the cover. So I was just kind of counting to see how many I have, but I think I'm going to use all of the papers. Here I'm trying to figure out if I want a doily or something in the middle, and I decide to place this doily in between the drawing paper and this old book page, only because they're kind of plain and that doily gives it a nice little texture. I also begin to play around with these pockets. These are little kind of doily-esque pockets, but they're kind of a wraparound, and then the back side has a little pocket where you can tuck stuff in. These are from the Planner Society, and I really wanted to use this one because it was like the perfect size for this TN journal. But because of that overhang, I decided not to because it just added a little bit too much bulk to the insert. And I couldn't figure out where to put it, so I ended up not using it and taking it out. So if you see, I have pages that are kind of overhanging, and I think I mentioned this in the last video, but what I like to do is I like to take ribbon, lace ribbon. So I love this particular lace ribbon that I used on the journal. I get it at Michael's, and it's just my favorite lace ribbon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line that on the edge and have a little bit like hanging over so that it covers that overhang. Before I do that though, I took a few pages from the middle part of the insert and I'm just trimming those down just so that the overhang isn't too prominent. I don't have too many pages overhanging, and so that it looks a little bit better, because this journal is going to get chunked up anyway, but still, I didn't want too much overhang. So here I'm positioning the lace on the edge, and I'm going to do that on the front, the inside front cover and the inside back cover. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut some of this ribbon down to size. I'm going to cut 2 strands, and just with a little bit of glue adhesive. I use these, my favorite Prima glue pens. I'm just going to glue down that ribbon so that the edge just comes over just a little. I'm going to do that on the front cover, like the inside front cover, and the back cover as well. And then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and sew those edges so that the lace ribbon is sewed to the cover. And so I did that here, and I'm just now cutting off the excess ribbon. And now I have the lace that covers my overhang. And so this is a really cool trick if you don't want to trim down your papers, and if you don't like the overhang and you don't want to go through the process of trimming down your papers more, just get some lace ribbon and just cover them up. So I'm just clipping my pages to my cover, and I'm taking some white embroidery floss because that's what I had on my desk, and I'm going to do a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. So I start off with poking my holes. So you want to poke a hole in the center, and then you want to poke a hole on the bottom. Sort of, I think it's about, I kind of eyeball it, it's about maybe 1/4 inch from the bottom. You want to do that on the top too. And then you want to poke 2 more holes, while one between the bottom and the middle hole and the top and the middle hole. So you have 5 holes. So what you're going to do is you're going to insert your needle from the outside in through the middle hole, then into the second to last hole, then back from the outside into that last hole. Then from that last hole, you're going to go right back through that second to last hole. So you're going to overlap there. Then from there on the outside in, you're going to go to that second hole. Then from that second hole to the top hole, and then from that top hole back into the second hole. Then from that second hole, you're going to go right back through the middle hole so that your 2 strands sort of hang out on the back, and you're going to kind of sandwich them between the string that connects the second to last hole and the second hole. And what I do is I just tie a knot to secure it. That's all I do. And I tied a couple of knots because I'm using embroidery floss and it's not as like sturdy as waxed thread. And I just kind of clip off the excess, let some of the threads sort of hang loose there, and there is my stitched journal. So that is a simple 5-hole pamphlet stitch. So now I'm just kind of opening my journal and going through all the pages and sort of flattening them out so that they kind of lay flat. And I'm just looking to see if everything's in the right place, like the doily and the pockets that I made. So I should have 2 pockets from that sheet music there. And I do this every time I make a journal. I always flatten out these pages. And so yeah, that is my little TN junk journal insert. I'm going to put it into this TN, and I am going to do a setup video once I've set up this particular traveler's notebook. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!